Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are going to be making a Copycat Chipotle burrito. So we'll have our carnitas, we have our our pulled pork in our Instapot that we'll shred up and season. We'll make corn salsa, pico de gallo, guacamole, seasoned beans, cilantro lime rice, our fajita veggies, pretty much everything you get at Chipotle we will have here as well to make our awesome, amazing burritos. So let's start by getting our rice going because that's probably the thing that's going to take the longest here. So I've got a cup and a half of our jasmine rice. We're going to rinse it up and we'll let it start cooking. And at the end, we'll squeeze some fresh lime juice over it and add some fresh cilantro and a bit of salt. So let's get it. We have a cup and a half. We'll put it in our fine mesh strainer here. We're going to give it a nice rinse. And this will give us a nice texture at the end, get rid of any of that kind of powder on it. You don't need to rinse it for that long. Good 30 seconds really works well. And shake out any residual liquid. And then I'm going to put it in 2 1/4 cups of water. And we'll get our pan on high. I'm going to give this a nice little stir. And mix it around. And then I'm going to add just a splash of olive oil in here. About like a tablespoon. And we'll add a little bit of garlic salt in now, but we'll add some more in later. Just a smidge now. And then once it's done cooking up, we'll toss it with some fresh cilantro and lime juice to really give it that nice, lovely cilantro lime flavor. Okay, once it comes to a boil, we'll put our lid on and we'll get it kind of cooking. So I have it on high on there. While we are waiting for that, let's prep up we'll get our beans going and we'll get everything else.
Yeah, question. How was the focaccia pizza?
Oh, it was amazing. So delicious. I will have to say the truffled garlic one was so good. It was just, I love anytime I see like truffled cheese bread at a restaurant, I always get it. And this one just had all the same flavors. It was so good. And it was really like light and fluffy, which but with those nice kind of crispy edges on it, which was amazing because I wasn't sure I had enough time to do a full proof on the sourdough, but I did because I started it at 6 in the morning. And so I had about 8 hours to go and it turned out wonderful. So it was truly delicious. So we're going to use our onions here. Part of it is going to go for our fajita veggies, and then I'm going to put some in my black beans. So we'll do 1 1/2 or a half, like 3/4 of an onion for our fajita veggies. And then I'm going to slice these up and then we'll dice them for our black beans. Because we want them to be nice and seasoned and delicious as well. So I'm going to put my pan back here, turn the burner on, and then we're going to add, let me grab some butter. I want to cook my black beans in butter because it'll taste better that way. Let me grab my butter paddle. We'll put in just about a tablespoon of butter. We'll let that melt up, then we'll toss in our onions, and then we'll toss in a little bit of garlic for it. So while that's going, we'll mince up some garlic. These will be to season up our black beans because when you have your burritos, I always get, I like the beans because when I go to Chipotle Chipotle is one of those places my kids always ask to go, and I'm like, I can make Chipotle at home. And it's simple, easy to make. It's really easy to kind of mimic those same flavors, and it's like a fraction of the cost because Chipotle is expensive on there. And it's really, I will say, it's one of those things that you can really recreate it. It's not that difficult on there. And so I'm like, today I was like, we're gonna do that. I'm gonna make the beans. I don't always make the beans, but whenever I'm at Chipotle, I always get their black beans. Again, I'm not a super huge bean person, so a lot of times I leave them out. But today, I was feeling it. So we're gonna mince up our garlic. And I said my oldest daughter, she loves beans, and I rarely ever make beans because again, I don't love beans. And nice and fine. That way we'll toast these up. So let's get our onions. It looks like our butter should have a good portion of it on. I'm gonna grab, let's see which one. Well, you can use this spatula. Give a nice little stir. We'll let those toast up just a little bit, and then once they get kind of a little bit golden there, I'm gonna give my rice again a little stir. I'm gonna stir periodically until we put the lid on because again, I don't want it to stick to the bottom of our pan. Get that. We'll slide this to the side. And let's get our fajita veggies. We can start getting the onions starting to kind of saute up and get those working. And then we're going to make a corn salsa, a pico de gallo, an avocado, or a guacamole. We'll season up our meat and we'll shred up some quesadilla cheese, shred up some romaine lettuce, pretty much all the little sides and fixings that make Chipotle so great. We'll get that up here. We'll toss in our onions. We'll get these kind of searing up, and then we're gonna saute up some peppers. I always love the fajita veggies at Chipotle. I always feel like they like skimp out. They'll like give it to you, and it's like more. I need like 3 more scoops of the fajita veggies. Don't just give me like 3 veggies. I want a lot of them. Okay. We've got our bell peppers here. Kind of debeard them, pull out those little bases in the inside, pop out that little stem. Got 1 and 2. And done.
Any scotcheroos left?
Yes, they still haven't completely firmed, but we've already kind of broke into them a little bit. I was like, we have to wait. We can't eat them yet until they're completely firmed up. But then I was like, well, we can have a little nibble and then a little nibble. And then we've got like a row. And then I went into the next row. They're like my weakness. I love them. And I'm like the person, I'm like, oh, well, that's not even. So cut a little bit. And then I'm like, oh, let me even that out a little bit more. And I think my evening is just me justifying taking a little bit more every single time, on there. But we've only taken a sliver, and that's only for Teddy, Jack, Evie, and but the 2-year-old, the 4-year-old, the 10-year-old, and I have already made a dent in it. And I will say that was probably these are my Achilles heel, my favorite dessert. Those and my peanut butter bars I make. Love those as well. I have a soft spot for peanut butter. I just love peanut butter. And all. Just love it. Okay. Our rice is almost to a boil. Our onions are kind of caramelizing here. I'm going to turn down my back burner just a little bit. There we go. Let it caramelize up a little bit more before we put our garlic in here. Looks like we've got a good rolling boil now on our rice. So we can pop our lid on here. And then we'll turn it down to a simmer. There we go. And now we'll chop up our things. So some of my peppers we're going to use in our fajita veggies. Some are going to go into our black beans. And then some are going to go into our pico de gallo and corn salsa. So it's one of those things where it's nice to kind of have, it's an ingredient that gets used in a lot of different ones. So I'm going to dice these, which we're going to use for part of our salsas and our beans. So just kind of doing, and these are those tops, which are already kind of funky shaped. So they actually work well for the dicing. Let's see, our onions should be nice. So I'm going to add in my garlic over here for the beans. And this shouldn't need too long to cook with the garlic in here. You don't want it to get burnt or anything like that. So just let it cook for about 30 seconds to a minute. And then we'll add in some of our chopped peppers. And then we'll add in our beans and some spices and we'll let them stew up and cook. Okay. So this will go into our beans. And then I'm going to put this amount. Let me chop them a little bit finer and actually mix up my colors a little bit more just so we have a nice division of the rainbow. Okay. So for our beans, I'm going to put this in our corn salsa. And then take a small portion. This is going to go for our pico de gallo, so I'll dice these up. But let's check on our garlic because, again, I said our garlic doesn't need much. And again, you don't want it to burn. You want it to get just a nice little golden crisp on it. And I have it cooking at a pretty good medium temperature. So I'll get our peppers in. Let those saute. Let me grab some tongs and we can get our onions. I'm going to turn them down just a smidge, but we've already got some nice kind of bubbling searing on it. Some good kind of little brown markings. And you get that by just letting them sit and cook for a minute without stirring them, leaving them to really get that really good, lovely kind of char flavor on it. So you just kind of have to let them sit without tossing them. Okay, let's get this. We'll do this last part right here. I'll slide these. We'll get these ones so we can pop them into our fajita veggies. I like to cut when I'm working with like bell peppers. You cut from the insides. That inside has a nice texture and a good grip on it, which means you won't slip and slide when you are working with it. So it just cuts them a little bit nicer on here, and you can get your good fajita veggies cut up pretty quickly versus having to kind of work with the smooth skin on the outside. That grip just allows you to work a little bit faster. There we go. On here. We'll add our little fajita veggies in. Some more of our bell peppers. Almost lost that guy. We'll give these a quick toss. And we'll let them saute up. I'm going to grab that guy out. He didn't get a very small cut on him. These two guys two of them needed a little bit more. I did cut them. They just didn't go all the way through. There we go. And now we'll get these for our pico. which is Evie's. She loves it. She loves the sweet peppers and the tomatoes. She just loves that. That's her favorite thing when we go to Chipotle. She always orders that, and she's like, "And I need extra, Mom." I always have to get her extra Pico de Gallo on the side, and she just sits there and she just loves that salsa. Except when she gets a jalapeno, because they always have like one little jalapeno in there. Same with the guacamole. And you never know. There's like always a little inconsistency. Sometimes you get it and it's very mild, and sometimes you get it and it's so spicy. Okay, let's get our beans. Now, normally with most beans, I always rinse them. With black beans, I don't rinse the black beans when I'm doing it because the black beans sauce is a different type of base to it. I like that sauce because it has more flavor in it than most. A lot of times the black beans is in a seasoned sauce for it. This is a plain one. We're going to season it up ourselves. But while I do rinse most beans for it, black beans is one of the few beans that I make an exception to. We're going to mix it in there with our onions, our garlic, and our peppers. Give that a nice thing, and then we'll add some spices in here. And we'll just let that stew over kind of a medium-low temperature. We're keeping our spices pretty simple. We'll bring them over there. Little Mexican fiesta seasoning. We'll do about around a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon.
Do you mash up the beans?
I do not mash up the beans. I'm just going to have these as a stewed bean. Now, my oldest daughter does love a refried bean. I never gotten on board with refried beans. It's so funny. My oldest daughter, and I can only pinpoint her love for refried beans, is when she was younger, the school that I worked at, they served refried beans like once a week. And it was like she loved them. And I think that is the reason why, because I have never cooked them really. I mean, I make them for her now every now and then because she loves them, putting a little bit of oregano, we have onion powder in there, but I'm just not a fan. I think it's a texture thing for me too. I'm going to give a little bit of garlic salt here, about a teaspoon or so. And then we'll stew these up. But she loves most beans. She loves baked beans. Now, I do love a good baked beans. I would say that's something I always love. We always had those growing up. Gotta love those. That's like a childhood thing. I just remember we'd have baked beans with like little hot dogs in it. I know that sounds so not bougie, but I remember that as a kid, and I thought those were the greatest. Okay, let's give these a little stir, toss. Look at this. Nice, beautiful kind of char on it, just like you would if you were getting your little fajita skillet at a Mexican restaurant.
Judy sent you.
Oh, well, thank you, Judy. We appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to give my rest of my bell peppers a nice little mince up here for our pico.
Are you baking anything tonight?
I'm not baking anything tonight. I know, it's kind of surprising. I didn't actually bake much today other than our sourdough focaccias. I made my scotcheroos, which has been so much temptation all day, and I've been weak and have been eating them all afternoon.
Wait, so no oven tonight?
No oven tonight. My husband, I know. I said, we are just here. I know, no oven. I know. I forgot to tell him. Normally I tell him if we're going over to the oven or not, but no oven. We are all, this is my stage here. We don't have to move. I mean, I can walk over there a couple of times if you guys want. I did clean it out after my little boil over, but the trick is when you do have So like with my focaccia, and I was like, oh, I should definitely put something under there, but I was like, eh. I'm always like one of those optimists, like it won't do it this time. It always does. But I'm always like, yeah, it won't boil over, and I knew it would, because the oil in there, and I was gonna pop up. But if you get it while it's still hot after you do it, you just take like a hot wash, like a wet washcloth, and you wipe the bottom of it while it's still hot. Everything comes off super, super easy. And that's kind of my like trick to anytime I have a bad boil, like a spillover on my oven, is just to get it while your oven is still hot, because once it cools, it hardens, and then it's like concrete and it never comes off ever. But just wipe it down when it's still like nice and hot, and it will clean up really, really fast. There we go. So we're gonna dice up our tomatoes. This is for our pico de gallo. This is what Evie's gonna be probably most happy about tonight. It's the little things in life, the tomatoes. She is a great lover of tomatoes. It was so funny. She's just, ever since she was a little kid, and I really think it was because when she was really little, we just spent so much time at the pool, and I always would order. They had like a little grill, and I'd always order a little salad at the pool, and she would always just eat my salad. And it wasn't like she would eat the lettuce and stuff like that. No, she picked out all the good stuff. The chicken, the tomatoes, the feta cheese, all the good stuff. That's what she picked out of my salad. And those to this day are her favorite things, because I'd always order a Greek salad. She just loves that stuff.
Do you ever peel your tomatoes?
I like the skin on, and I know like if you're making like homemade sauce, you can like peel the skin off and everything like that. But I just find I just will blend it, and unnecessary. It's like a whole nother step that requires a lot of work. And sometimes I'm really lazy in the kitchen when it comes to those steps.
We've done this request before. To show them how you sharpen your knives, we should do a short.
Yep, we should, because it's actually, I feel like sharpening your knives, most people think it's like a scary or really daunting task, and it's not. It's really, really easy once you know how to do it. And once you know how to do it, I feel like, and I remember the first time I did it, and I always, whenever I sharpen my knives, I feel like I'm like this excellent like swordsman, like, you know what I mean? Like throw me back into the Middle Ages and I'm, one of the three musketeers. I don't know which one I'd be. Whatever the really good one was, that's me. But that's how I feel with it, because my honing steel kind of looks like an épée, and I just feel like pretty bougie, pretty cool when I'm sharpening them. But it's really not difficult on there, and you get the hang of it. I will say it's really easy sharpening one side. The other side is kind of like an awkward thing but it's just kind of like your left and right. You know what I mean? When you do something with one hand and then you have to do it slightly the other way, that's a little bit challenging. Okay, let's get our red onion. We're gonna put some in our pico, and then we're gonna chop up the rest and put it in our corn salsa. Get this stuff going.
How many of the three musketeers can you name?
Curly. No. Sue.
What?
I don't know. Are these like the
Porto, Athos,
Oh,
D'Artagnan?
who am I naming then? Curly, Sue?
That's the Three Stooges. And that's Curly and Mo and Larry. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know where I got that from, guys. Yeah, Curly doesn't sound like a Three Musketeer. Now I'm thinking of candy. I don't know where I came up with that, but that's my abilities there. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna put these on hold. They're pretty good. We'll sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt right towards the end on there. I have seen the Three Musketeers movie. Mainly because my husband has watched it and I have come in mid-scene. I don't know if I've actually seen it all the way through. Here we go.
Can you go over what's in the corn salsa when you get a chance?
Yes, we're almost done with it, not quite, but so far we've got some corn. So this is frozen fire roasted corn, but regular frozen corn works as well as canned corn. Fresh corn does not work well because then you would have to blanch it, which adds a whole nother step to it. So either frozen or canned corn. I prefer frozen because it's not as sweet as canned corn. And then I have some diced up bell peppers and diced up red onion. We're going to add in some green onions here. We've got green onions. This is actually going to go in a couple of my things. It's going to go into, we're going to save some for our beans. We're going to save some for our rice. It's going to go in our pico. It's going to go in here. I just love when, you have multiple ingredients go in lots of things because it's one of those, all around. So because this green onion decided that it was going to be the Hulk and the giant one, we're actually going to kind of cut it down the middle. This is more like a spring onion than a green onion because it's massive. And we'll dice these up. And then we'll get these all in here. And then I'll put this aside because we're going to use these in a couple of different things. But I'm not going to add these to some of my things until the end because I don't want to cook out their flavors. But we're going to add some to our corn salsa, some to our pico, which adds another lovely bit of onion flavor to it. We'll save the rest for our beans and our things. I'm going to grab some cilantro now, and we'll add this to our corn salsa and our pico. So trick, if you ever buy fresh herbs and you're like, you don't want them to wilt in your fridge, and I kind of feel a little thing, but I keep this is a little strange, but I keep a vase in my refrigerator, and in my vase I have my parsley, my dill, and my cilantro, and that keeps it hydrated so it doesn't wilt, and it makes it last fresh for a really long time. So I have this just big, wide, short, flat vase in there, and it just keeps them all nice and fresh for it, and constantly, so they don't wilt up, and it just allows your herbs to last a lot longer in there and keeps them fresh so that when you're ready to use it or you buy it, it just lasts a lot longer. Especially, when you're not picking them fresh from your garden. It's one of those things I'm like, been wanting to get, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, is it worth it? They have these things, they're called like the garden or the which are these like giant indoor hydroponic gardens. And I'm like tempted to get them, but then I'm like, do I really want to spend that much money on one? Because I had like the little ones, and the problem is, I will say, I had the little ones. The thing is, they're so bright. My sister had one, and then she, like, where they live, she, like, one of her neighbors was like, I just have to ask you, what is so bright in your house? And they lived across in a golf course, and they could see it all the way across the golf course. It was just like illuminating their whole house at night. And I'm like, I don't know if I'd want something that bright illuminating my whole house all the time on there, So I was like, I'm sitting there, although I'd be like, oh, and I think it's a great idea, but I have a hard enough, keeping these two plants that require watering like once every like 3 years. I have a hard enough time with those, keeping them well watered. So I'm not sure I could keep that, keep them hydrated. I'm not the best with that stuff. I dream that I have a green thumb, but really my thumb is like a raisin. Okay, we've got our cilantro in here. We've got our, we're going to add our fresh lime juice, and then it's just garlic salt, and we can mix those up. And then we just need to work on, we'll make our guacamole. And let me give my beans a little stir here. Look at that. Looking delicious. And then I'll add a little bit of our quesadilla cheese on this at the end as well. I turn it down to a nice simmer. I've got my carnitas, so my shredded pork in here. we'll take those at the end and season them up, but we'll keep them hot until then.
Do you add jalapeno to your pico?
No, I do not. I have to say we do not like spicy things. I do not like spicy things, and so I do not add any spicy stuff to anything. My husband actually likes spicy stuff. He's like the only one in our family, so the rest of us do not. So no spicy stuff is allowed in our house. But no, but if you wanted to, you could definitely. So Chipotle does add little bits of diced up jalapenos to everything. You can add jalapeno, or if you want a slightly more milder, you could add a like poblano or something like that. But I do not, but you can definitely do that. I keep it very, very mild. But the acidity, you want to use fresh lime juice. That's going to give you this just wonderful little tartness that you need to balance it out. And then a little bit of garlic salt. And that's all you need.
D-Mac can take it.
Oh, well, thank you, D-Mac. We appreciate that. We're going to do a little bit of garlic salt because garlic salt makes the world go round. There we go. So you got these two. I'll give them a toss. Then we're going to work on my guacamole. Which is the best. Now, my guacamole is not a traditional guacamole. It is like simple. Very, very simple. No fuss, no added stuff to it. It is just lime juice, garlic salt, and avocado. Nothing else. It's not like one where you add in a whole bunch of other stuff. It's very, very simple. If you want other stuff, just put a scoop of your Pico de Gallo in there and boom, you've got, more in it. But I keep it simple this way and my kids really, really love it. Let's mix this all up in there. Get that. And the cilantro is really what, makes this. Now, if you do not like cilantro, you can always sub it out for like some parsley. It's a different flavor profile, but still gives you a nice little fresh, or you could just omit it all together. But parsley gives you something a little bit extra to it. There we go. So I've got those two done. And let's get our guacamole. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure I preserved these from the fate of Jack. If I leave mine out, I always like to, I ripen my avocados up on the counter before I put them in my refrigerator and I pop them in my fruit drawer. But there's always this risk. If I leave them on the counter and Jack, my 2-year-old, spies them, then he takes them and he might throw them or who knows. And if that avocado, if it gets dropped or thrown or anything and gets a bruise, it's the end of the line for it. So luckily, I'm fairly certain he did not get a hold of any of these. It's always like if he does that, I'm like, okay, we got to use this right away. Somebody's getting avocado toast today. See, this is like winning the jackpot with an avocado where you have the tiniest of seeds. Why can't all avocados be like this? And this is life. This is the life where you get the giant avocado pit and very little. Okay. We'll get these guys out here. Although, if you have a nice ripe avocado, you don't need to use a spoon. You should be able to peel it off, your skin off like this. It's one of those things that will let you know it's ripe. Your skin will just slide right off. And that means you're going to get the most from it. So you don't have to use a spoon to scoop it out. Your skin will just peel right off. If it's underripe, it will stick onto it. And then, of course, everyone knows when your avocado is overripe because it's brown. But that's how, you always wonder, oh, how do restaurants make their perfect little, avocados that look so wonderful? It's because they just peel them. There we go. And then when I mash up my avocados, I like to mash them with a fork. I don't like my avocados to get too smooth. I I like them to have a little bit of texture on there. I don't like a whipped avocado, but nice kind of slightly lumpy, but not completely lumpy. Yeah. There we go. Get these last ones. And one more. It's always nice when all of your avocados turn out to be good. Okay. Let me give my hands just a little bit of a wash since they got pretty messy there. And then I'm going to give my beans a quick stir real quick since we're over here. Let them continue to stew. And now what we're going to do is for my guacamole, we're going to squeeze over juice from a whole lime. Now, if your lime is not very juicy, now when you're picking your limes, try to pick ones that have thin skin. The ones that have thin skin are going to have a little bit of a squeeze to it. They're going to feel a little bit smoother. Those are going to be your juicier limes. If your lime feels hard and has a rougher skin, that's going to be a drier lime. So it doesn't necessarily mean the ones with the most beautiful colors. So this one, not the most beautiful colors, but look how juicy and wonderful this is. And that's just from 1/2 of this lime. And you have to use fresh lime juice. You can't use like that bottled lime juice. That just does not have the right flavor. Okay. My hands. And then, again, garlic salt. This is going to taste way better than regular salt. That garlic adds just this extra flavor to it, and it works better than garlic powder and salt because it dissolves easier. Garlic powder has a grip to it. Garlic salt is smoother, so it incorporates in much nicer. Use your fork and just mash through your avocado and like this until you've got the nice texture that you want. So we'll just go bit by bit, work that, there we go. Incorporate that fresh lime juice. And that lime juice has two purposes. Gives you those lovely citrus notes that you need, but it's also going to prevent your avocado from turning brown. And I use a lot of lime juice in here, which means typically my guacamole does not go brown at all, even for the next day. Now, if you have extra guacamole, the way you want to actually save it is you're going to cover it with plastic wrap and you're going to push it down so it's not exposed to any air because it's the oxidization that causes it to go brown. So as long as you push that plastic wrap over the top of it, you seal out any air, your guacamole will stay bright green. And if I have leftover of this, you know what we do in the morning? We make avocado toast. You just spread it on your toast, add a fried egg, and voila, bougie breakfast. My boys absolutely love it. Sometimes when I have guacamole with dinner, Teddy's like, can I have avocado toast? And I'm like, well, we're eating guacamole and chips. And he's like, but I want avocado toast. And I'm like, oh, okay, I suppose. You know, he just has to look at me with those little baby blue eyes. You know, it's funny. So I've got 5 kids. And they all have, all 4 out of 5 of them have my husband's brown eyes. But Teddy, he is my blondest with these baby blue eyes. And he sure does know how to flaunt them at you. And he just pouts them. And he's going to break hearts one day. And he's such a mama's boy. He really knows how to get what he wants out of me. He always tells me, Mama, I love you. Okay, look at that. Wonderful amount of guacamole. That guacamole there cost me like $4, which is less than that teeny tiny little scoop you get at Chipotle. So we're already saved, and they're always there. It's extra, but it's like a lot extra there. Okay, we're pretty much down to the finishing point. We'll get our meat seasoned up here, but let's get our cheese shredded, and let me kind of cut up a little bit of our lettuce too. That way when we're ready, we're ready. So we just need a little bit of lettuce because not every one of us enjoys lettuce on their burritos. I do. I'm the one, I always say it's kind of funny when my husband and I's burritos orders are very, 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 very different, as you can imagine. Mine is I'm going in and I'm like, and I want that vegetable and that vegetable and that vegetable and that and that and that. And my husband's like, rice, meat, cheese, guacamole. That's it.
Judy sent you a flower headband.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we've got our quesadilla cheese because Chipotle has that delicious white cheese, which is this melting cheese, which is the best delicious cheese that works really well for it. We'll break off a bit of this, and then I'm going to grate it so I have a nice little pile to put on here. It's this creamy, delicious cheese. Slide this back. So different from like a queso fresca, this is quesadilla cheese. So it's a more solid, not a fresh cheese. But this is their delicious ones where, it just melts up so smooth. Okay. That should be good for now. Yeah. Who am I kidding? My kids are going to want more than that, so. I know my kids. My kids are like, more, more, more. This makes really good nachos. I typically, we love a good cheddar cheese on our tacos, but when I was getting it, I was like, ooh, when you can get this just works really well in the burritos because it just melts up and it's not too overpowering. Cheddar cheese, while I love, is a stronger flavor. This is more mild. Okay, we've got our cheese. Got my sour cream. Let me mince up our last bit of cilantro so that when we're ready to add it into our rice for our cilantro lime rice here in a little bit, that will be ready. Let me pull off these stalks since we're running out of room on my cutting board, even though this is like one of the biggest cutting boards I can find. There we go. And a few more little leaves. Try just to get the leaves. Leave this because we want to put the fresh cilantro into our rice so we have that lovely cilantro lime rice. We'll add fresh lime juice in there and a little bit of more garlic salt. We have a little bit cooking up in there, but that's one thing that I think Chipotle does really well is their rice is delicious. It's well seasoned. It's not just plain rice. It's good rice. But I don't put a huge amount in there because I don't want it to be overpowering, but just enough. So it'll be about a tablespoon minced up, but that will be enough for all of our rice. Okay, we'll have that there ready. Let's go get our meat, rinse my hands here, seasoned up. And I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt over our fajita veggies so that I don't forget to mix that in because I do like to season them up a little bit.
Now, for people who don't like cilantro, what would you sub in?
So you could either completely keep it blank or you could do a parsley. Parsley doesn't quite have that kick to it, but gives you a little bit something. I feel like cilantro is just one of those spices that just doesn't really have another herb that kind of fills into it. Parsley gives you a little bit to it, but it's a different flavor profile. So I would either say skip it all the way, or parsley is kind of it's like, a stepsister in the family, the cousin. It's not quite the thing in there. Okay, take that off. This is our pork roast, like a shoulder roast that I used the pressure cooking setting on. I seasoned it up with some liquid smoke, garlic, salt, oregano, bay leaves, and garlic, salt, onion powder. So a nice kind of savory base on here. We're going to pull the meat off. We'll add a little bit of the juices, and then I'm going to add some extra spices on here. But kind of do more of a drier mix on it so it's not too wet into our burrito base here. But nice and tender. This is one of my favorite ways to do kind of like like a butt roast, picnic roast, because it does make it like a shredded pork. It's so tender, so delicious. And like here, this is the bone that was in the middle of it, and it falls right off. And it's just a relatively cheap cut of meat, and it yields a lot. And this is just an easy way to cook it. I do it for between around like 2.5 hours on high. And that gives me that perfect, not overcooked, but a nice, like good shredded where it's not mushy, but holds itself together well. And add that liquid smoke in there. It really gives you a nice kind of texture. I'm going to break it up a little bit, but you see it gives you nice big chunks, but isn't mushy. There we go. And this is one of those things where if you are a smaller family, you can do a big roast like this. Use half of it for carnitas because I do a very simple, mild spice on it. And you could save the other half for like pulled pork the next day. So I'm kind of mixing it up. And then we'll add in our spices because we will, I don't know if we'll eat it all, but the rest will go to my parents. So let me grab my spices over here. Keeping it pretty simple. And then I'll drizzle a little bit of those juices over the top of it. Now, I'm going to warn you, the liquid that's left over in your Instapot, don't pour it down the drain. It will cause problems. I've learned. It's very fatty, so dump it out somewhere else, down the toilet. Just don't do it down your drain. You'll be calling a plumber. May have done that recently.
Down the toilet.
Don't do that either. Don't do that either. Find a secure location. Take care of it. Paper towels if you need to. I don't know. I'll let my husband figure that out. Here we go.
Well, what kind of roast?
So this is a pork butt or a shoulder roast. This one's a pork butt. But yeah, a picnic roast, pork butt, shoulder roast. Those are all kind of similar cuts on there. We added in some Mexican fiesta, a little bit of onion powder, and then we're going to do a little bit of garlic salt. And then I'm going to give it a toss, and then I'll give a nice little drizzle of those juices over it. But again, I don't want it to be too liquidy. I might not even need there because it looks like there's enough residual juice on it. But enough to have those flavors on it in there. So it has those nice little bits of deliciousness.
Have you ever made green chili?
Like white chicken chili, or like a green chili salsa. So there's like that salsa verde, I typically we don't because we don't really like anything. I don't really like anything spicy, so I haven't done that. But I've made like the green enchilada sauce, so I've done that before on there. Okay, I'm just gonna get a little piece of taste, and we'll see if I need to add any more spices. Good. Okay. Let me check my rice now. It should be about ready. Looking good. Turn that guy off. Now we need to add in my next lime. So to get the cilantro lime, we're going to add in our fresh lime juice. I've got my fresh cilantro. Got some fresh green onions. And then the rest of this is going to actually go over to my beans. So pop that over there. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of extra garlic salt. And we'll get a little, here's my spoon for that. We'll mix it up. And we'll have just a really delicious cilantro lime rice. You always want to add those that stuff in at the very end so it stays fresh. Now we're going to be ready to whip up our burritos because I just have to toast up my tortilla, but we have everything made. Okay, got that. Let me mix in my cilantro and my green onions here on my black beans. Perfect. I'm going to turn that off since it's ready.
Did you add any butter to the rice?
I added a little bit of oil during the cooking process, but I don't like to make it quite as oily as like Chipotle's. Chipotle's uses a lot of oil in theirs, so mine isn't quite as oily as theirs. You could add more butter if you wanted to, but I like to make mine a little bit lighter and fair. Okay, so the one thing that's really nice about Chipotle's is they have those humongous burritos. Well, you can get those humongous burritos too. Look at this thing. It's like bigger than my face. It's called a super burrito. Super burrito. And it's ginormous. But it will make the best little burrito because it's like the same size as the one at Chipotle. So I'm just going to turn on my little skillet here. We'll just warm it up until it's kind of got a nice little heating up on it. Once it's warm, we'll be ready to kind of build up our burrito. But while we're doing that, I'm going to clear off my area so that I can be a burrito master and assemble this. Let me just clear a little bit out of here. A little bit, but I will say, if you don't like the burritos, pretty much the exact same thing you can do with this is a taco bowl where you use the rice instead of the burrito and you build everything on it. So same concept, same ingredients minus the tortilla. But I was really excited to find these jumbo burritos on it for it. So, but these are, again, it's just delicious. So it's just like at Chipotle, you have those kind of tortilla bowls and everything. Okay, let me get these right here and save that line. And then I've got to make a little workspace for this. I'm going to bring this right over here. Move it to the side. Get my spoon for my sour cream. Because we're going to make this the way I like it. And the way I like it is, and I'm sure I'm one of those people that the Chipotle people don't like because they like go in and then they're scooping and then they're like, oh, this is one of those crazy people who wants everything in it, and I didn't match my scooping levels to their level of craziness.
Do you need to butter the tortilla or no?
No, you don't need to butter the tortilla on it. I don't want it to crisp up. I want it just to get steamed up a little bit. So enough to make it pliable. Buttering it will make it crunchy. So this is really just to steam it, not make it crunchy. So they have those little beautiful little tortilla presses. Buttering it will crisp it where it will crunch when you bend. Now, if you want to make a crispy, crunchy taco, you could totally do that. Let's get this all over here. I'll get a plate. And this will be an assembly plating. So I will assemble and plate it. We're just about perfect. Okay, so we've got my nice toasted burrito here. And let's see. Should we put the aluminum? I don't think we need the aluminum foil on there. I could be special and have it on there. Okay, so they always go there. What type of rice do you want? Well, we want the cilantro rice. We want the white cilantro rice. No brown rice here. Put our nice little bit of our cilantro lime rice, which is just jasmine rice with fresh lime juice and cilantro. We've got our stewed black beans with onions, peppers, garlic, our fiesta seasoning in here, fresh cilantro, and green onions. And then our meat today is our pressure cooked carnitas in our Instapot. There we seasoned with our Mexican fiesta seasoning. We're going to add in our fajita veggies. Nice little mix along there. Wonderful. And then some lettuce, our quesadilla cheese, a scoop of our corn salsa that we made with fire roasted corn, bell peppers, green onions, red onions, fresh lime juice. Our homemade pico de gallo made with tomatoes, peppers, onions, fresh lime juice, and garlic salt. Our homemade guacamole made from lime juice, avocados, and garlic salt. And then, of course, a nice little dollop of sour cream. And this is our gorgeous burrito, which we will fold in, tuck in the sides, and then gently pull, pull, tuck, pull, 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 and voila, we've got our mega burrito. I may have put a little guacamole on my hands here, but this, if we had it wrapped up, is one epic Chipotle burrito made at home for a fraction of the cost at there, and it's going to taste even better because it's homemade. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do live shows every single day, kind of show you all the different things we're making for our family. And we upload all of our videos on the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these meals at home, you can just go to our page and search for what we made, like our homemade Chipotle burritos, and you can always watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets in it. I've got my Instapot in there, my Hexclad griddle pan, my knives, my cookware, all the different things that I use in there. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.